Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room, where I'm smiling because I'm holding an incredible collection of games right here, a trilogy of amazing reviews, Gunnak, Guardian Force, and the game you're about to watch, River Raid, for Atari 5200. It's always a great time to jump into your airplane and blow things up on the river in River Raid, Activision's 1982 vertical scrolling airplane shooter, being played here on Atari 5200. River Raid is a popular game, and I think most of us who enjoyed it back in the day played it on Atari 2600. Well, let's look at its big brother, the 5200 version. Is it better? You know, it's honestly pretty similar. In fact, if no one told you the difference, you probably wouldn't even notice. But if you look closely, you can see there's mountains and stuff on this side and just slightly more detail in the information area, but the game looks more or less the same. The river has a beach in this version. Fortunately, it's one of the few games that the dreaded Atari 5200 controller does not ruin. River Raid plays really well on Atari 5200, it looks great, it sounds good, and it is the superior version for once. The 5200 outdoes the 2600 here. But only just slightly. From a practical standpoint, I would stick with the 2600 version of River Raid since it's the same game, but the 5200 version is pretty impressive, considering the controller doesn't actually ruin it. It plays well, and the mushy joystick even works fairly well in the tricky bits. Obviously, we are not bombing New Jersey, or I would have to stop and let somebody else fill up my gas tank every single time. New Jersey! That's right. For those unfamiliar with River Raid, it's one of the best games from the era. Because you fly around and blow up enemies, that's not that uncommon, but you have to keep your plane filled with fuel, or else it explodes and showers debris into the river, thereby causing a major environmental disaster. So losing this game has repercussions. If you don't need the fuel, you can blow them up for some extra points. You can fly faster if you're in a hurry, or slow down to shoot things and score some points. Have some respect, I'm raiding a river. You can also slow down to shoot things with more precision, but the further that you progress into the game, the less frequently you'll encounter fuel tanks. And no, this isn't New Jersey. Nobody will pump that gas for you. You have to fly over them and do it yourself. While the Atari 5200 controller isn't great by any stretch of the imagination, it works well enough to play this game and fly through the tight parts. You're not going to be constantly hammering the fire button, which is awkwardly positioned on the side of the controller. There's a bit of auto-fire, and because of that, the game is actually playable. In fact, I would say this is one of the best Atari 5200 games available. If you're collecting for Atari's behemoth game system, add this to your list. I laugh at your pathetic helicopters. Are they Airwolf? No, they suck. After those words of wisdom from Mark, I have a Classic Game Room shout out and thank you to send to Matthew from Lafayette, Louisiana, for sending River Raid on the 5200 to Classic Game Room. It's a great game that's even better on the Atari 5200. And Matthew, I also like the Atari Flying High Pin that you sent. That'll get its own review. I recently just picked up the sequel, River Raid 2 for Atari 2600, so keep an eye out for that review, and you can watch my Atari 2600 review of River Raid to compare these two versions. I definitely like this one better. After destroying all of the enemies on the river, make sure to return and jet ski around their carcasses. It's River Raid, highly recommended.
What? Where'd that stupid plane even come from? Jackasses. Glad I raided your river.